Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. There have been some new developments on the renewable energy front this week. Terence Creamer joins me to offer some insight. Terence, welcome to Second Take. The first 28 projects have still not closed, but there has apparently been some progress in this regard.
Yes, we've been waiting for the financial closure of the first 28 projects which were announced during the COP17 conference in December last year. There was a lot of excitement around it, and the deadline was ready for the middle of June to have these projects closed. But there have been a number of delays. The main thing, and it seemed like there was an oversight in the guarantees that were needed for Eskom to go ahead with this project. And those guarantees under the legislation that governs state-owned enterprises and Treasury needed to come from National Treasury, and there needed to be an application from the Minister of Energy to Treasury for these guarantees for Eskom, which is basically if Eskom were to default on paying the independent power producers, what recourse could these independent power producers have from government? There had to be a guarantee, and then there had to be some sort of system of recovering those costs if there were a default. So apparently that has now come to a point where there's a resolution, and on Friday last week, October 5, Treasury met and formally approved those guarantees that now needs to be communicated back to the Department of Energy and to Eskom, and then we can go ahead with the closure of the first 28 projects, which these developers are really champing at the bit to start getting going now, because it's starting to cost them some money, that they haven't got shovels in the ground, they haven't signed the power purchase agreement, they haven't signed the implementation agreement. But it seems that the infrastructure is in place now for the signing of these agreements, and we just need some sort of formal processes of signing off on the guarantees for Eskom, and then we should see the process moving ahead for the power purchase agreements, etc., being signed hopefully during October, and then we should see shovels in the ground quite soon.
There's also been some confirmation this week that the program will be extended beyond the first 3,725 megawatts.
Yes, since the 28 were awarded or named in December last year, we also had a subsequent second bidding round, and a further 19 projects were named. So quite a lot of the allocation of the 3,725 megawatts under the program, the Renewable Energy Independent Power Producer Program, REIPPP, has been allocated. So there's only about 1,100 or a bit more megawatts still to be allocated. So a lot of the developers are saying we need to have some certainty beyond that allocation. We have got an integrated resource plan which says that a lot more is more coming. And basically the Minister of Energy earlier this year said that we're wanting to convert this into a rolling plan, and there will be a further allocation, but this requires a ministerial determination. Now that ministerial determination hasn't been gazetted yet, but what we understand is that it has been handed across to the NERSA, the regulator, to get their concurrence. So they'll deliberate on this determination, which has been drafted by the Department of Energy, by the Minister of Energy. They will give their concurrence or make some adjustments, and it will then go back to the DOE, and then it will be gazetted. But from what we understand, what we've heard is that a further 3,200 megawatts will be allocated up until 2020. So the initial program, the 3,725 megawatts for projects coming on between 2014, and then the CSP projects were given until 2016 to come on because they take longer. And this will be now an additional 3,200 megawatts to be allocated across the different technologies till 2020. And the big question is, what are the different allocations within that? Now, everyone wants a lot more. PV people, photovoltaic people want a lot more. Wind wants a lot more. CSP has said, we can't really get an industry and all the benefits potentially of this technology unless there's a much bigger allocation this time round. So that will be what people eagerly are waiting. So we know the big figure is 3,200 megawatts, but really what people are wanting to know now, or developers are going to want to know, how much has been allocated to the different renewable technologies.
With the delays, do you believe that the process remains credible, or has it lost some momentum?
There's no doubt that it's created a wobbly, it's created some anxiety amongst developers. This is a lot of money that people are investing, a lot of upfront capital that they've had to do to get their projects to get their projects to a certain stage, to get them to a point where they can be bankable, to have all the environmental approvals, to go through the very rigorous process that the request for proposal demanded. It was an intensive process, and it really required a lot of effort, a lot of legal work, a lot of environmental work, a lot of engineering work. And the delays are not helpful, but it seems that there was this oversight around the guarantees for the state-owned company. That now seems to be out of the way. And I think delays, given the size of the program, a delay of a few months, I think will be acceptable to most of the people involved. They know it's a long-term thing. These are projects that are going to be running for 15, 20 plus years. So they've got long horizons. So I think the few months delays will be forgotten as time goes on. But the main thing I think all developers and all future investors will want to see is when the third round happens, which has been delayed now to May next year, has there been an improvement in the process? Have all the learnings on all the troubles that emerged in the first round and in the second window, have those been ironed out and have been taken on board? And can we see that in the way the documentation is presented, in the way the allocations are made? And I think if that happens and there's clear progress and there's indication that we go from 1 to 2 very seamlessly and then into 3, I think that all will be forgiven, and I think that the process will be seen as a success. In fact, I think a lot of people are looking at this model of competitive bidding, and I think that a lot of the developers that go through this process, it will stand them in good stead if other countries adopt this type of competitive bidding framework, which seems to have worked in terms of already immediately starting to bring down the price of some of these technologies. They started at a certain level. We already saw in round 2 that the prices came down quite significantly in some of the technologies, and I expect the same for round 3. I think it's going to be a price round. So the first round was about compliance. The second round was about an element of pricing and compliance. I think the third round's all going to be about price. And I think that's good for South Africa. The quicker we can get these renewable technologies down the levelized cost curve, the better for South Africa, the better for the technologies, the more credible they will be for South Africans as a whole. So I think the process, yes, it's been frustrating, and you don't really want to be a developer waiting months on end for processes that really were internal government issues that needed to be solved. But on the other hand, I think it's understandable given the size and complexity of the process, and all will be forgiven if there's improvements to be seen in the next round.
Terence, thank you very much. That is the Second Take show for this week. Thank you for watching, and join us again next time for more news analysis.